I'm always fiddling with something. And anyways, we are live. So welcome to the Maple Minds podcast. I'm Christy. That's Rob and Polly. We're three people from BC who just talk about politics and what's in the news, not just BC, but all of Canada and internationally. And by internationally, we know who I'm talking about. Anyway, we are going to start in Canada, but just across the Rockies, where all of the action in Canada seems to be at the moment in Danielle Smith's province of Alberta. We're going to start with some good news, some like really good news. For those of you who have been following Thomas Lukasik, and I believe I'm saying that right, he is the former deputy premier from like 2012. He was a progressive conservative, and he started a petition to challenge the Alberta separation movement. And he started a petition with the goal of getting 294,000 signatures of Albertans who said they want Alberta to remain in Canada and they don't want the separation movement to be going forward. I'm paraphrasing, but the good news is out of the 294,000 signatures that they needed, they not only met it, but they blew it away. They got 456,388 signatures. Look at those boxes of signatures. I think it's amazing. I think this is a bad day for the separation movement. That lawyer guy with the black hat, and of course Keith Wilson with the Freedom Convoy, the leader, or not the leader, the lawyer, one of the lawyers for the Freedom Convoy. For those of you who didn't know, Keith Wilson has been part of the Alberta separation movement for years and years and years before the convoy. I think this is a bad day for them. Rob, what do you think?
Oh, I think it is. I think it's great that they went out and did that. The target of 294 seems weirdly specific. Like, why not just 300,000? But anyway, they passed it. They passed it by a whole lot, and it's funny because a lot of people, like, some people that I know in Alberta, they don't want to separate. I think we know that. I mean, there's a lot of news, a lot of people like promoting this separation, and we want out. And obviously there are a number of people that want that, but not the majority of Albertans. So I mean, this just goes to show it, right? So good on him doing that. I mean, that's a lot of work.
Yeah.
Like, really, that's a lot of volunteers. That's a lot of people going out there and doing it, right?
Because it had to be physical. Like, you couldn't do it online. You couldn't even recruit help from outside of the province. The canvassers had to be residents of Alberta. I think this is an amazing message. Now, I think we'd be naive to think that the separation movement in Alberta is new or even unique to Canada. We're all familiar with the Quebecois, right? So we know that the Alberta separation movement has been there for a long time, but I'm going to argue that since the Trump movement, since the MAGA movement, there has really been a wedge in people's opinions about separation, and really the separation movement was pushed a lot, was fueled a lot by the messages from MAGA. Happy to fight or debate with anybody who disagrees with that. I think it was largely amplified by the MAGA movement. I hope that this is a message to some people who might think because the separation movement is loud, like the MAGA guys are loud, quite often the public perception is that the loudest means that there's a lot of support. And I hope that this demonstrates to them, no. Just because people who want to stay with Canada don't beak off as much as the MAGA guys, they are committed to Canada. But the thing that worries me about the MAGA message is I did a video about Steve Bannon yesterday, and Steve Bannon, as a lot of people know, is big in the MAGA movement. He's one of the advisors. He was part of Trump's first cabinet and stuff, and he was a large contributor to Brexit happening, right? Somebody had convinced the people in the UK that their concern for immigrants should be greater than their concern for their economy. Everybody knows that it was a bad economic decision. Everybody can look at Alberta and say that's a bad economic decision, but you have a bunch of people that are fueling. I think it's being fueled by the MAGA movement, but I do recognize that it's always been there.
Yeah, I think there's also a lot of misinformation that I don't think people realize that economically they cannot sustain themselves. Like they really can't. Like, yeah, they have like as a province, they have a lot of natural resources. There's things that they can do, but to sustain themselves as a separate entity on the world stage, they don't have enough. And they're landlocked. They're in the middle. Like they would have to come up with agreements. Yeah, the U.S. would come in and roll them because the U.S. is going to look at them as a 51st state, like really a 51st state. So if anyone really in Alberta, like, and there are the people in Alberta that are like, yeah, let's bring it on 51st state. But a lot of the other separatists just want to be their own country. They want to completely separate. And I
I
think
don't
I
believe
think they need to like figure that out as well, because they're going to get destroyed if they ever, like, I mean, obviously this is just fantasy at this point, but they would be absolutely destroyed. The value of their currency would be nothing. They would, like, I don't think they've even thought any of
they
this
have
through.
they've even put forward their arguments about how the resources are theirs and not belonging to Canada, and the treaties. How they talk about the treaties actually meant, oh no, the treaty is like a bill of sale. Even though we didn't buy anything, it's just, the treaties, that the way that they present it, it's as if the treaties weren't an agreement to share the land, but instead an agreement to give up the land, which isn't it. They if they went forward, it would be in the courts for like a really long time. And I don't believe that they would be successful. But I also don't believe that the goal behind the people who are sending the message, when you said that there's a lot of people who just want them to be on their own, I believe that's true. I don't believe that that's the goal, though. When I talk about the messaging coming from like Bannon's guys and the MAGA group and stuff, I think the idea is to get them to disassociate with the rest of the country enough to want that independence, and then say, you know what, that's not going to really work. You know what would work better? Just be a 51st state. I think that is the ultimate goal.
No, 100%. And that's where the people of Alberta need to know, if you want to separate, you're going to be the 51st state. Like there's no way around it. You're going to
I
get
think,
you're going to get bullied. You're going to get, yes, you have the natural resources that could probably potentially sustain
if
that
if you
province,
won,
but
but only
but
if you won in court that they were yours,
yeah,
right?
but and here's the thing though. I'm saying, let's just say they won in court, it's theirs, whatever. You've got to bring that stuff to market.
Yeah,
You got to sell it. Who's going to buy it? And are they going to buy it for the price that you want to sell it at? No. And how are you going to get it out of your province or out of your that'd
yeah,
be their own country? How are you even going to get it out? You've got to go through wherever. Guess what? Oh, the U.S. will be like, well, we can build a pipeline. Don't worry about it. However, if we do this, like everyone's gonna take advantage of them, and to a point where they have to be the 51st state. I mean, the separatist movement, they have to know that you will be a 51st state.
yep.
Regardless, you're never going to be a separate entity. 100%.
I agree. And I think that I honestly believe that the majority of, not the majority, but one of the biggest goals of the Freedom Convoy wasn't about vaccines, but it was about creating the wedge in starting to get people to want to leave, because a lot of the people who led that convoy were part of the Wexit movement in Alberta. They had already done a convoy, for those who didn't know, in 2019, that started out about oil and gas and then eventually got to immigration. These are already people, not the supporters, the leaders, and not all of them, but enough of them that it makes, especially when you got Keith Wilson, who's been part of a pro separation for years and years, when he's joining in, how can you not consider that? How can you not consider that these people with all of their American flags, while they're talking about, oh, do this for Canadian generations, do this for your grandkids, we're fighting for Canada, while they're waving an American flag? You'd be naive to think that this had nothing to do with the overall plan. And my Steve Bannon video had clips of him talking about, we have to finish what we started, what we started, what we started. This is like a global movement.
Yep. Oh yeah. Actually, I saw something pretty interesting on a segue for that global movement was someone talking about Donald Trump trying to devalue the U.S. dollar on purpose, uh, and it was a pretty interesting argument. I mean, you can kind of see some of the things that they're doing that potentially could do that, but I don't know if that's an ultimate goal. That's a really bold,
No,
risky
I
move.
believe that the ultimate goal is to funnel all of the dollars to a few billionaires, um, a small number of billionaires, leaving the rest of the Americans dry and vulnerable to having to do whatever the billionaires want. And I think the billionaires want, uh, very, very, very cheap, let's say free labor, right? 'Cause it's the only way
Yeah.
that they can compete with China. They keep talking about bringing in, we're going to build factories and stuff in an age of AI. It doesn't make sense. But that's what I think. And I had a disagreement with somebody this morning in the comments of a live, and I'd like to know what you think. This person said to me, it was Oscar, in case you're watching, Oscar, that the goal of what they're trying to do is they're purposely trying to crash the economy, and I disagree. And you know what? Probably last year I might have agreed with you, but I've been looking at it from different angles and I've been reconsidering. I don't believe the goal is to, and I don't believe you can crash the economy. I think that there's a saying that Nouriel Roubini has that tech trumps Trump. It doesn't matter what Trump does, that the innovation of tech is like this huge snowball that is unstoppable, that is going to keep the market going no matter how much this guy tries to crash it. I don't think he's trying to crash it. I think he's trying to manipulate it to make pockets of money here and there, like that person who we don't know who it was, made a whole bunch of money on crypto the day that he had announced the China tariffs, right? And I don't know how much of that continues if the Supreme Court rules that the tariffs are illegal and he's not able to use that as a manipulation tool. But I think as long as he has it as a manipulation tool, he's going to keep using it. If you look at his family's worth increase, I think that's the idea for all of those guys to get all of the money at the expense of everybody else. The guy's being a Marie Antoinette right now, man. He's building some ballroom, some Vegas style gold covered ballroom while he's cutting off food stamps. Come on.
Have you seen some of the video clips of people lined up for at food banks and trying to get food? It's crazy. Like you're like, is that really the United States of America? Now, honestly, I don't know what their plan is. I don't think very many. Only they know really what their actual plan is. But I can tell you that from what we've seen, it is to really increase their personal wealth for sure, but it is tanking their economy. Their economy is in trouble. And if they reverse these tariffs and the tariffs go away, which I've seen some reports that they're getting rid of some of the tariffs on goods from China, but I'm not 100% sure yet. But and who knows, that could change tomorrow anyway, or this afternoon. But the economy is suffering. I mean, it really is suffering. So obviously a byproduct for sure. Is it the ultimate goal? Yeah, I think their ultimate goal is to amass as much money as they possibly can, because money's power, right? So
I think it's money
that's
and power. I think
that's what.
that the goal is to amass as much of the money as they can and have complete control over everybody else in America. That's why they're not abiding by their constitution whatsoever. That's why they're trashing the courts. That's why they're going out of their way to try to demonize Democrats, like literally making religious people believe that because people have a different political view, that there's something demonic about them. It's why they're doing all these little baby steps of turning the military against their own people. They're starting with the National Guard in certain cities. They're encouraging that with the continuation of paying border agents and ICE and not paying people like air traffic controllers. There's 4,000 interruptions in airlines in the United States today, because the air traffic controllers are like, I'm not getting paid, I'm calling in sick, people aren't showing up, right? But the ICE guys are, they're showing where their priorities are. It's not with American citizens, it's to the police, it's to the people who are going to police the American citizens.
Yep, 100%. 100%. It's a crazy world we're living in right now.
It is.
Crazy
And
world.
we went away from Alberta.
Yeah.
But that's okay, because let's keep talking about the states, because we're already here. We can come back to Alberta later if we want to, but we talked about how the tariffs could change. So they are going to court, the Supreme Court. So somebody ruled that they weren't legal. Somebody else said, no, you're wrong, they are legal. So now it goes to the Supreme Court. And there's a lot of fear that, well, look at what the Supreme Court has already ruled on, like Roe v. Wade or ICE going into cities. They had some other examples too. Like they're already siding with Trump. I don't know. I want to believe that this is kind of a line in the sand where the Supreme Court is going to say, okay, the whole world is watching this one, because the whole world is affected by tariffs. So we know the whole world is watching this decision, and we have to tell the world whether or not we believe this is an emergency, whether or not the 1% of fentanyl coming in. And I made a video today too about how the Doug Ford commercial kind of helps prove that it's not an emergency. If you're going to have an emotional reaction like, hey, I really didn't like that commercial and I'm going to lie about it being fake, and so you get tariffs, that's not, you can't prove that's how do you prove that's an emergency?
Yeah. You know what's interesting, and honestly, at the end of the day, this is all it comes down to. And for all of us watching, Americans watching, the people around the world watching, is if the Supreme Court is in favor of saying, yes, it was an emergency and we needed to do it, we all know without a shadow of a doubt that they are just part of this machine, and they're part of that whole mega, plan. It's guaranteed, because there's no way any intelligent person could ever draw that line and say, oh yeah, there was an emergency. There is no emergency. We all know that. The whole world knows that. Everybody knows that. Even Megan knows that. Like everyone knows it.
I question
so their ruling is just gonna open the door for all of us to see. Is the Supreme Court in their pocket 100%, and they're all, let's go MAGA, let's go project 2025, let's do this, and then there's no way out now, like like the Supreme Court's,
and I think the reason that this one is different than the other ones that we saw take a MAGA approach, like the Roe v. Wade and like the ICE agent decision, I think this one is different because those other decisions only affected Americans. So only certain Americans were paying attention to it, and certain people who pay attention to American politics were paying attention to it. I think that the audience for the tariff decision is arguably bigger because people pay more attention when it affects their lives. And a lot of the other decisions that were being made in America only were going to be affecting American lives.
Yeah, but I still think that the Roe v. Wade decision was more ideological, right? So like as those conservatives, that's what they believe in.
Yeah.
And so I think that's different than what the tariffs are. But I don't know. It's going to be interesting to see how they rule, because it's going to tell us everything we need to know about what's going to continue on, or whether or not there is a sane, group of people out there that really understand, and here's the other part is, sorry, I just keep jumping around. But you now have a court system, like you've got the highest court in the United States, and if they vote in favor of Donald Trump's tariffs, you just know that there's no way out. Like there literally is no way out at this point. There's no higher court. No one can turn around and be like challenging them. You can't challenge them. That's it.
Yeah.
They're bought and paid for. That's it.
Yep.
You're
I
done.
totally agree. And I think that you brought up a really good point by bringing up the ideological difference. So I think that there's two main differences why this decision will be looked at differently than the other decisions that we can all see are aligned with MEGA. And one was my point about the international audience, because it affects people internationally. But I think that it's a great point, that I think that it was supported by a lot of Republicans who have the same, Christian ideology, and the same idea that, we need to stop this nonpartisan kind of politics, and the real way is the Christian way. So these ways I can support this because it goes along with my Christian values, and tariffs, as to your point, have nothing to do with religion whatsoever. It has to do with an economy that you have to look, these Republicans must realize, that these people are lying. They must know that it isn't the other countries that pay it, like Donald Trump and Caroline Levitt say. Even when you listen to Scott Bessent, the soybean farmer, did you see that? Rob, did you see that? Did you see Scott Bessent talking about being a soybean farmer? This man
No.
is worth over $500 million. And he's like, I felt the pain. I'm a soybean farmer. The guy owns $25 million worth of farmland that he rents out for $1 million a year. And this guy's, when he's being asked about the pain that is on American farmers right now I chased him away with my farmer rant. I'm going to keep ranting till he comes back. maybe he'll have to go look it up. But yeah, Scott Bessent, the Department of Treasury Secretary, when asked about how the tariffs are affecting farmers, because we've been hearing a lot of pain from American farmers, said, Martha, I'm a soybean farmer too. No, you're not. You're not. You're worth $500,000. $500 billion. $500 billion man does not know the regular pain of a soybean farmer. Welcome back. How well did I time that rant? I was just wrapping up when you came back.
He may not have heard you though. Yeah, he
missed it all.
It was for the audience. But my point is, these Republicans who are supporting this, especially that Mike Johnson guy who he talked about how tired he is because of all the overtime. No, it isn't. You're tired because you are BSing every single day about why the government is still shut down, by throwing it all on the Democrats. You're BSing every day about why you won't swear in the elected representative from Arizona. It's catching up with them. These guys must realize that they're lying about the tariffs and what the actual impact is going to be. So
Oh, now Christy's gone. Nice. Yeah. Oh, can you hear me? Am
Don't
I
answer
on?
because she can't. Yeah, you are. Don't answer because she can't hear you. So, well,
yeah,
maybe not.
No,
she has
for sure.
Internet, everybody. I can cut this all out and then we can continue. Where did she leave off? Do you remember?
We were talking about she was talking about the soybean farmer.
Okay.
And I missed some of that, but I'm still like going back to the tariffs, because I think that's sort of something that she touched on. Is I'm still a little dismayed as to how the misinformation over tariffs is actually still reaching people, and people are still believing in it, and they don't realize that they're paying the tariffs by the increase in food prices. I saw.
Hold that thought.
Welcome to the Teeter Totter episode. Sometimes you'll get me, sometimes you'll get Rob.
Yeah.
Rob was just talking about tariffs.
Yeah, because you were talking about, I thought you were talking about tariffs, but it's just sad that there's still that misinformation out there. Because I mean, the food prices down in the U.S., they actually showed that they're up 2.7% versus last year, same time, and food prices weren't the greatest last year anyway. So now they're up another 2.7%.
Can I say something about this?
Yes.
My husband, he games.
Okay.
And he games with Americans. And they talk all the time. And a lot of people in the United States of America, go figure, don't even know. Like, he was talking to the person about Trump's poop video where he pooped all over the Americans. Nobody's seen that. And I think that's why, yeah. Like, anybody he talks to is like, what are you talking about? I never saw that. And so then they have to go and search for it and find it and see it. And I think this is why we bought that commercial for 75 million to play at the Blue Jays, because they know that Americans are they're getting propaganda like Russia does for the Russian people. They keep everything out, and only anything getting in is favorable to Trump. So I think Canada saw this opportunity to spend 75 million to
Someone else did
let
it too, just
Americans
saying.
know. Yeah, to let Americans know what is going on, because they don't know. They don't know. They don't know what's going on. I'm telling you, everybody.
I know.
They don't
I
know.
I think, and I said this last show too, and I've made several videos about it. I think the Trump ad was brilliant. The part that about if Carney knew about it, or Carney knowing about it ahead of time too, that doesn't bug me. I know Pierre's trying to really use it of, it's Carney's fault. Carney knew about the ad's brilliant. The ad is brilliant. I'd also like to point out there's no lawsuit. There is no lawsuit there. I responded to a video this morning where somebody said, well, Doug Ford is now being sued by the Trudeau Foundation. No, he isn't. He isn't being sued, nor will he be sued. I'm willing to bet anybody that the Reagan Foundation is not going to sue Doug Ford or his government or Canada for that commercial, because they can't. They had it set to unrestricted. Saying you're going to consider legal action is not the same as suing somebody. But when you mention legal action, you've already planted the seed, right? So you already think, well, they wouldn't pursue legal action unless they're telling the truth about it being misrepresented, right? No, man, they're manipulating you. They're BSing you.
Yeah. And
there's no lawsuit.
And when Trump said on Twitter that the video was AI, it was made up, it was fraudulent, it wasn't even real, it was an AI video that Canada made to make it look like Reagan was saying it, which is not true. The Americans, that's the only portion of the story they're getting. That's all they're seeing, right? With the propaganda, because that's what they're getting fed now. All the billionaires have control of all the social media platforms.
Yes. This is short-lived, honestly. You should see me on Twitter. So like when I'll make a video, and if it's a short one, I'll also put it on X or Twitter and Blue Sky. And I barely have any followers on Blue Sky at all. And I have like less than 1,000 on Twitter, but my posts go nowhere. Absolutely nowhere. I'm so like, they're not spreading my message, but they're really amplifying messages from people like Mario. MAGA messages.
Yeah, they're putting those forward. And then Elon Musk has Grok changing things.
Yep.
You know, like he just put up he has Grokopedia now, and there's Wikipedia, and on Grokopedia it says a whole bunch of stuff about George Floyd that is really just disgusting. And then Wikipedia and he's trying to say that's the truth and Wikipedia is a lie.
Yeah. We knew this was coming too, because he had announced on Twitter that he was going to change Grok, because so many people, I was doing it all the time to conservative MPs. Like Melissa Lantsman would say something and I would tag Grok and say, Grok, can you fact check Melissa Lantsman? And then Grok would come back and basically say, no, Melissa's wrong. I did it to Michelle Rempel-Garner. I did it to Michelle Ferrari. I did it to a lot of conservative. I did it to Pierre. And there was a lot of conservative content creators that were complaining, and they would tag Elon and say, Elon, look what Grok's doing. So Elon said, oh, I'm going to change Grok. So Grok just seems to be a bit woke right now. I'll change that. Is changing while they accuse the history books of being, written by the victor. You can't believe anything that a history book says because it was written by the victor. The truth is actually a different story from a stranger on the internet. Oh, and now the richest guy in the world owns part of the internet. And that's what history is going to be going forward. Scary.
Yeah, it is scary. 100% scary. Actually, you see that a lot on TikTok, where they talk about like the protests and they're like actually filming the protests, and they're trying to use it as calling them music festivals. so that they could change the algorithm so that people could see what's actually happening, because they don't think that people are actually getting to see it if they call it a protest or if they call it a. Yeah.
We just had one in Alberta where the separatists had a meeting or a
rally.
They had their rally, and so they had their rally here in Alberta, and they're claiming that there's 12,000 people here. People went to go counter protest this rally, and only 10 people showed up to counter protest. Why? Every single video that I put out about it got 35 views, whereas all my other stuff gets like 500 views. 35.
I remember when you told me about it, I didn't even know, because I hadn't seen anything.
Yeah, I asked you the day before it happened. I said, did you hadn't even seen my videos, and we're mutuals.
I know. Yep. That also that isn't 456,388, which is the number of petition signers that want to stay in Canada. And I know we already talked about this, but I forgot to bring it up. Something that Thomas Lukaszak had said was so special about this was that they hit every community, every demographic, every different racial group, every different political group. That guy is a conservative, right? And he was able to get support from other people who disagree with him politically to agree about, going Team Canada and not Team Trump, which is basically what the separatist movement is, in my opinion. But since we're in Alberta, let's talk about Danny using the notwithstanding clause to make the teachers go back on from their strike.
Let's not solve the problem. Let's not do what's right for teachers. Let's just make sure that they go back to work. I think that's that's a black eye on that government, 100%. I mean, the fact that you're gonna have to use that clause just to get them to go back to work rather than fix the problem, or at least try to. Like, I don't know. It's just, I don't know. It makes sense though for them.
I think
that government.
Yeah. So I agree that it's a bad look. I also disagreed though when the federal government did it to Canada Post. I think that a government should be this is just my opinion. I think a government should be able to force the negotiators to the table until a resolution comes, and force them to meet in the middle, or to come to some sort of concession and to keep talking about it. I don't believe that they should be able to just take away the right to strike, because I think we're seeing it become more common. Like, why wouldn't all the politicians do it when all the other politicians before them did it? That's just my opinion.
Yeah, no, 100%. That's exactly the same, right?
And it has got the attention of other unions. I think that I got an article open here. Hold on. The other labor leaders in Alberta are saying, well, if action against one union is action against all of the workers. And I think that they had an emergency meeting, and I think that we might see other people on strike in Alberta in support of the teachers, kind of like are you going to make us all go back? Like, there is strength in numbers too. Again, I'll bring us back to what Quebec did when they had 450,000 people striking in the same time.
Yeah, that would be super impressive. Like, if you really think about it, if they actually did that, that would be something else. Like, something else.
That's what I would do if I ever, like, when I thought about what the convoy was trying to do. I thought, okay, if I'm ever in that position, and, like, let's say Pierre's there, and I don't want what Pierre's got coming, and I need to stage a big, huge look at me protest. That's what I would do. I'd be calling every single union person I know and making them call each other, and then getting that sort of support from coast to coast. That's just what I would do. That would be the Christie plan. I shouldn't talk about it out loud. Keep it in my pocket.
Project 2028.
Yeah.
Christie's Project 2028.
Christie's Canada 2028.
You gave it away already, though. So
I know,
you're
I
not
know, I
doing well.
did.
God.
Okay, so let's move to federal politics again then, because there's a lot of talk about the budget. And something interesting happened on the social media sphere. There was a lot of Pierre cheerleaders talking tough talk before he had made the RCMP comments. They're like, this budget's coming out. No way Conservatives are going to support it because it's going to be a bad Carney budget. And then we're going to have an election and then we'll have Pierre. And I was like, oh, I have such election fatigue because for the last 3.5 bloody years, we've been hearing the same stuff. And then it quieted down immediately as soon as he pissed everybody off with the RCMP comments. And then today it started up again because now Pierre's talking about he's being asked about the budget. When reporters are asking him, are Conservatives going to support this budget? He doesn't say yes or no. He doesn't want his base to know, yeah, I have to do it because I can't go into an election right now. But I'm calling it right now. He supports that budget because Conservatives cannot afford to go into an election right now. There was a poll that came out just this morning about, and I know that polls are just polls and they're just a sample, but this poll said 49% of Canada would like to see Carney as the prime minister, and it was like 27 for Pierre. Conservatives are not going into an election with those numbers, I don't think.
No.
It's funny though. Like I totally get it. And I do side with you on this, but there's a little part of me, just a little part of me that says the way Pierre is, you'd be like, let's just screw it and let's do an election.
It's Pierre.
Let's try it because he goes, I think I got them. I think I got them right where I want them. I know I'm really low. He goes, but if we get an election and we prove this and we prove that, we can rise above it. That's only my numbers right now. Imagine what my numbers are going to be at election time. They're going to soar. They're going to soar. The Canadians want this. Yeah. They want another election. They want me. I don't know. I honestly hope they vote in favor of the budget. We don't have another election. I don't want another election. I'm tired of it. And could you imagine the social media again going into another election?
That's why it's exhausting.
It is exhausting.
Like the bots would be fired. Another thing that I noticed too after the election was the amount of Pierre bots really quieted down. When he made the RCMP comment, though, they fired them right back up. Holy smokes. They go in waves. But I think another election would just fire up all of the BS again. But like I said, I believe Conservatives can recognize that it's not in their best interest. And that's why I don't think that they're going to do anything to trigger an election. But then I wonder, would they do his leadership review earlier? Are they trying to get him to pivot before the January leadership review? If it's up to me, it's before December 25th so that I can win my bets. But I don't see how the management of the party can recognize, if I'm right, that it isn't time to go in the election and still believe that keeping this guy as leader is a good idea.
Yeah. Like their only plan if they want to push this and vote against the budget and trigger an election, their only plan is that they have a fantastic potential leader in their pocket somewhere that no one knows about right now, that they're going to swap with Pierre going into this election. They're going to pull a Carney. They're going to be like, yeah, well, we got our guy now. And Pierre's just going to go like this, and we're going to bring him in or her in, and we're going to be like, here we go. Let's go. We're going for this now. Who knows?
I agree.
I think it's funny. Like,
I think, and you might all think that I'm way off base here. I think perhaps a Mulrooney, like Carolyn Mulrooney, to capitalize on the Mulrooney name. They're very political. I think it's a possibility, but I think it's more likely that it's going to be somebody like Jamil Javani, with his messaging and his campus tour of doing what Pierre's doing. Pierre recently had a bit of a rally or an event at somewhere in Toronto. I can't remember, somewhere in Toronto, and it was a youth event, you know, riling up the youth. And Jamil Javani's doing his little campus tour. He had a few campuses to talk about, how, you know, how young men are poorer young men, talking about the liberal racism when liberals just want to tell you that how much smarter they are than you, and being part of JD Vance's world, if he still is. We know that they used to be friends. They deny being friends now. I'm just saying they have a very similar style for people who aren't on the same team, if in fact they aren't on the same team. But I don't know.
Yeah, I think he was. I think his rally was at Eaton. Was that like Eaton Center or something?
That's right.
Right in Toronto there. So
yeah,
not in Alberta, because he doesn't know where that is.
He's not going back to
unless
Alberta.
unless he wants to get elected.
He has hung up that white hat. That white hat never got dirty. It's never going to get dirty. It's somewhere hung up until he has to go back to Alberta and suck up to them again.
Yeah, I think that's hilarious.
And I think it's such an unfortunate. I really thought that somebody like I would love to see a Canada full of Bonnies. I'd love to see, instead of just politicians, I'd love to see like people from not real, but like real life, who actually represent your area, because that's what it should be, right?
I want to see a bunch of Wob canoes.
Wob canoes and Bruce Fanjoys, Bonnie Critchley's.
Right. And like, but really, that's what it should be. There shouldn't be, you know, the person that's in your riding that gets elected. They should be accountable to you, right? I mean, that's really what it is. They should be the ones going in and deciding on what they need to vote on based on what their constituents want, not based on party politics, right?
Yeah, but I think we've moved from that, and I think it is more party politics now, and there's so much theater. Like if there wasn't theater, we talked about this last show, the 3 strike bill that Pierre tried to introduce. There was another petition that I think it was Andrew Lawton was talking about yesterday or today, talking about the petition against the budget that hasn't even been released yet. There was a proposal in the budget that didn't end up being put in the budget, but they got to make this big show of, you know, we don't want this. Well, it's not even in there anyways. You're just making a show to make sure that people stay mad. And all of that energy could be going towards actually doing stuff to help us.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's the tough part is you see a lot of this stuff that's just trying to anger and rile up people, you know, to be anti-liberal, and rather than looking at an opportunity where you know, the Liberals have a minority government, or well, they don't have a super majority where they can just pass all the legislation they want, but you have an opportunity to be able to get your voices heard.
Yeah.
And get what you want for your people, right? I mean, that's where the negotiation comes in. That's where you sit down with the Mark Carney and sit there and go, okay, well, I'm willing to do this, but these are some changes I need. But we also want to look at this. Like, what can we do about this? Because that's what our constituents
how we got
want.
dental. It's how we got dental. You want my support? I want this out of you. Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that Don Davies, who is the current leader of the NDP right now, I think he had an opportunity at one point. I think now he has talked about maybe some things that he would like to see in the budget. But the very first time he was asked about it, he like passed. And I thought, what a blown opportunity. But I'll be honest with you, overall, I'm not a fan of Davies. I think he should have his comments on. I think if you're a leader of a political party in Canada, you should have to have your comments be public. That's just what I think. But I'm also really looking forward to the NDP leadership race. I'd love to do a whole show on that if you guys were familiar. But I'm watching it because I'd love to see the NDP really come back and be able to do something. I don't believe that they're ever going to be a majority in our generations. I think they have a chance going forward, but I think they have a chance to be powerful enough to get stuff done under the right leader. And I have opinions about some of the candidates. And I have an opinion about one of the guys who's being a whiner about not being a candidate because he won't register. Anyways, that'll be for another day. But yeah, okay. You know what? Since I'm here, that Yves Engler guy, he keeps talking on social media. He keeps whining about being excluded from the events for the NDP candidates when he hasn't registered to be an NDP candidate. And the whole reason that he's complaining about not registering, he said that he has fulfilled the signature requirements. He said that he's already raised enough money. The only thing that's stopping him from registering is that, oh, they're going to be against me. They don't like me for this reason. How are you going to lead a party? How are you going to be a leader if you can't handle this conflict in order to register so that you can be considered for a candidate? That is not leader. That is whiny language. It is not leadership language. No respect for that. I don't care what his ideas are when he's presenting it like that. It is being a leader of a political party is so much more than how good your ideas are, because your ideas don't mean shit if you can't do anything about them, and you can't do anything about them if you have no power, and you won't have any power if you're just a whiner and you're not actually a leader. I'm done. I'm sorry for swearing, Polly. You know what? I made it 47 minutes without swearing.
You know what? I think we should start a swear jar, and then every time you swear, and then the money goes into it,
I'll
and
be
then
broke.
we have to donate the money after.
Oh man,
some charity would be really benefiting.
Yeah, that guy. I don't think he's ever seen that. You only get what is it? You don't get a second shot at a first impression. You know,
Yeah.
like you're done. You're done. It's almost ridiculous in a way. It's almost like a joke.
And
Seriously.
he's spending a lot of time talking about, how they're against him. Like I think he was worried about not passing vetting or something because they were biased against him for some reason. And he spends a lot of time slamming a media company that he says is Avi Lewis's, personal, whatever. I don't think it's personal. I know that they've worked together in the past, but he spends a lot of time saying, poor me. We already have that. We already have a Pierre. I don't want a poor me person leading the NDP, because a poor me person isn't going to get anything done. See Pierre Poilievre, see 5 failed elections in a row Conservative Party. I'm just saying.
Yeah, 100%. That's not what Canadians want either, especially in BC. We don't want that.
Nope. No whiners.
No.
Okay, we got about 10 minutes.
No whiners allowed.
Yeah, we got about 10 minutes left, and I'd like to talk about the Caribbean and the United States involvement in the Caribbean. First of all, I don't know if we have an update about Jamaica, but I know that they were facing probably the biggest storm in recorded history. So thoughts and prayers to any Jamaican Canadians and any friends and family you still have in Jamaica, or anybody else who has friends and family in Jamaica. But the Caribbean I'm talking about is the attacks from the United States. They say that, there's drugs on that boat, so we're justified in taking their lives. Polly, do you have the text that I sent you? So earlier this year in September, on September 6th, they had attacked a boat off the coast of Venezuela. And when somebody said, well, you didn't prove, they said, well, it's drug cartels. And when somebody proved, they said, not proving it, like just taking somebody else's life without proving what's going on is a act of war, or it's a war crime, pardon me. And the Vice President of the United States says, and I quote, I'm not swearing here, this is JD Vance swearing, he says, I don't give a shit what it's called. And I get it. I get the whole tough guy thing. The whole MAGA movement is marketed in a very tough guy way. But when you have the Vice President of the United States saying he doesn't care that it is a war crime, it just means we're going to do more war crimes. Am I wrong? Do you disagree? Because they did, right? They didn't prove. We don't know if these boats are actually drug boats. We know that 14 people have lost their lives, though.
I just honestly, I find it disturbing that, you know, if they have been tracking these boats and they are full of drugs, why would you just not send the Coast Guard to go round them up, arrest them all, grab all the drugs, and go, look at what's coming into our country, and do a big media thing with all the drugs there. Look at this. Look at what we just seized off the coast. But instead, you obliterate them. Like you blow everything up and go, well, there were drugs on there, but now there aren't. You know, like who's gonna believe that? But here's the worst part is,
we know who's gonna believe that.
Yeah. But here's the worst part is, nothing's gonna be done about it. There's no hand slaps. There's no, hey, you guys can't do this. You know, there's, I don't know. They're just able to do whatever they want, blowing up boats, blowing up people, and no due process.
No due process. And that, yeah.
But would you not want to show it though? Like, and that's the thing that gets me is, would you not want to show and prove to all the Americans, look at what's coming into our country, look at what we just stopped. But instead you blow it all up. So now you have no evidence of anything. It's very sketchy. Come on.
There was a post on X about the boats. So when we talk about when Elon tweaked Grok, and Grok had given bad information about the No Kings protest. Actually, Grok said, oh, this is 2017 footage, when it wasn't. And I believe there was also a community comment or a Grok thing saying that, you know, here's a picture of a boat with drugs on it. But then that one was actually a reproduced picture from years ago. It wasn't even the United States. I think it was over in Europe or somewhere else. The evidence that they're giving, if they do have evidence, if you have the boat right there, to your point, there you go. Just take pictures of that one. Do it live, send the news crews, show live, capture these guys, hold them accountable. And they're being a Duterte about it, right? The Filipino guy who was like, you know what, there's a war on drugs. I'm going to be the hero that cleans up all the drugs so that nobody has to worry about losing anybody to drugs. And I'm just going to unalive everybody. And I'm going to give everybody else the license to unalive other people. And what's the worst that can happen? Look what happened to that guy.
Yeah.
Just saying.
That's not going to happen to anyone in the U.S.
They did arrest.
At the time, nobody believed it was going to happen to Duterte either.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And eventually he was held accountable. I think there's a lot of hope that some people in that administration are held accountable for when the world turns and we're not headed down the mega road with doesn't feel like there's any side roads. It feels like there is going to be a turn where the courts will be trustworthy and will hold people accountable. And even if they don't believe that Trump will be around in that time, they're looking at younger people like Caroline Levitt and Stephen Miller and going, yeah, you're still going to be around and you're going to be held accountable for this. I hope.
A lot of people think that drugs are just an excuse and that Trump wants a regime change and he wants to put in that woman that dedicated
Machado.
Yeah.
Peace the Prize. One who won the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Completely possible, especially considering how she thanked him and how she acknowledged him. I don't know enough about her to know what her opinions are of him and why. I do know that she's been living in hiding. I don't know what she consumes. I don't know what information she's given. I don't know enough about her to know why. But I know enough about how she talks about Trump for that to be a possibility, or for me to believe that it's a possibility.
That's what Russia has too, right? Like Russia has Belarus. They have put their own leader into Belarus and other countries as well.
And I go back to an Alex Jones clip that I remember. By the way, I don't know if anybody knows, I used to do Alex Jones content way back in the day when I first started TikTok and I was following his trials and stuff. He lost the appeal. He owes $1.4 billion to the parents of Sandy Hook, and he went to appeal, and no, they said, no, you're paying. So he's got to sell off some stuff. I hope he loses in InfoWars. I can say that. I don't, free speech, sure. I don't believe you should be free to BS as much as that man does. I don't think you should be able to profit off of BS, off of manipulating people. I don't. I think that there should be a cost to BS. And I think $1.4 billion is a reasonable price tag, personally.
Yeah.
I do.
Especially what he
I
did
think
with
it's a
Patillo's
deterrent.
family.
I think it says if you BS in a way that affects other people as negatively as this BS affected the Sandy Hook parents, you're going to have to pay.
I'm really surprised. I'm surprised. It's great that that's what happened. So,
anyway,
hopefully there's more of that.
Sorry, go ahead.
I just said I hope there's more of that.
I hope so too. I think we all do. But I think that, anyway, going back to the Alex Jones clip, it was from years ago, I think 2022, when he was talking about this sort of global movement, the same one that I addressed in my Steve Bannon video. Jones was talking about, we've got, Bolsonaro when he was in power. We've got Giorgia Meloni in Italy. We've got Trump. He was talking about Poilievre. He was talking about all of the far right leaders in their movement. And here's what's really interesting. When I think back to what I considered a conspiracy theory during COVID, like all that, it's like they told them what they were going to do, but they convinced him that somebody else was going to do it. But it's exactly what the other people feared, right? About how there's this small group of elite people who want to have this global movement to control people. Yeah, that's really happening. It's just happening with different guys. You were told it was these guys. It's actually the guys you're cheering for.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree.
You'll own nothing and like it. How many companies has the United States government bought stakes in since Donald Trump became president? Those are little baby steps into government owned everything. Just saying.
Yeah. I think that's just the new way of doing things, right? Get in on that stuff. Put in leaders that you like and that like you in other countries that could help you economically. There's a lot of benefits to those, right? I mean, but I think the U.S. has always watched the international politics around the world and have had vested interests in certain parties being elected in certain countries for a long time now. For a long time.
They have the whole IDU, right? That Stephen Harper is the chair of, and they say on their websites that they work together to get leaders elected in, I believe, 60 countries. I could be wrong about that, but there was a whole bunch of countries, and the Republicans are in there, and Pierre Poilievre is in there. And when they're given the fear of the WEF, and that's a bunch of leftist politics, and they talk about the liberal hegemon a lot. They talked about how they want to take down the liberal hegemon. They want to have a conservative run world instead of a liberal run world. And I think we know what conservative run world means.
Yeah.
Anyways, I think that is a good wrap up. I think that wraps it up perfectly at 2:00 with a nice little bow.
I think Pierre Poilievre just said he's not supporting the budget.
Oh, really? He will.
Let me see.
I'll bet anybody right now. I will bet anybody that he ends up voting for it, or that the Conservatives end up voting for it.
Okay,
I don't believe that they're going to an election.
I haven't seen this. So let's see.
I don't think he answers. I don't think he says he's against it. Well, let's look.
That could be true. He never answers. This was 2 hours ago.
But he answers in a way that makes you think he answers. It makes some people think he answers. Listen to his words. Just saying. Okay, I'll shut up.
Bring down the government with this budget. Do you want an election?
We want an affordable budget for an affordable Canada.
He didn't answer.
10 years of liberal inflationary taxes and debt, Canadians can't afford to house themselves. And our message to the Liberals is that we want an affordable budget for an affordable Canada. We want the government to bring down the cost of its spending so we can bring down the cost of living. And so it will be up to them if they're going to if they're going to increase the cost of living for Canadians again with more inflationary spending, then the Canadians will judge them accordingly. And let's be honest, every dollar the Liberals spend comes out of the pockets of Canadians. The more they spend, the more things cost. That's why we want the Prime Minister.
If we trade with China, prices will go down.
Yeah. Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
I think the reason that people think that he said, nope, we're not going to support the budget is because when his cheerleaders post that video clip, they put it on top. They put in a text. Pierre Poilievre says that conservatives won't. And if you listen to what he says, he didn't say that.
No, he
said,
didn't.
oh, Canadians will judge. And this is what we want to see. He didn't say anything about not supporting it. He's going to support it. I'll bet anybody.
He's definitely open. He's definitely opened the door to be like, okay, they did what we asked them to do in the budget, and so we will support it because they caved. They caved into
like
our
he's
pressure.
Supporting it because it's a good budget. You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
He's going to say, oh yeah, this is what we wanted, and they listened to us. As usual, they're copying us. He's going to find a reason to make it look like it's but we all know he can't go to an election right now, man. His shit's in the polls.
Or he's just stalling to kind of see like what they can do, right? You never know. I mean, he didn't say yes, he didn't say no. He's opened the door for them to vote yes, but he hasn't slammed the door on them saying no.
No, I think he hasn't. I think the reason he didn't slam the door on saying no is because he wants his base to believe he's still fighting against Carney. And then at the he's not voting against it. They're not going to an election. There's
I don't think so either. I read that on Twitter. That's why I said I thought he said something.
I know.
But when you go on Twitter, you can't. There's no way.
Don't listen to the Twitter cheerleaders, man. Every time I see one of those, I've been putting up a copy and paste of Polling Canada's post from today showing where Carney and Pierre are on preferred prime minister polling. And I'm like, you think these guys are going to, and I just keep posting that on everybody's. He's not considering, come on. Just because they say he's not considering it, listen to Pierre say it. Pierre does not say anything at all. The door is just open to interpretation. So whatever you want to believe, while I'm sounding tough, but at the end of the day, absolutely not. I'm not going to an election that I'm going to lose and give these guys a majority.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they would get a majority too. I
totally,
really believe 100%. That if we went to an election, I think Liberals would get a majority.
I'll be honest with you. I don't want them to have a majority. I like minority governments. I like when a government has to get the support of another government in order to pass stuff. I don't want just one. This is why Pierre bugs me, because I want a good opposition. I want a real pushback and not theater MAGA BS. I'll keep going if you guys let me. We should wrap this up.
No, I agree with you. We need a solid leader that can push back in a proper way. We
deserve it.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Okay.
I'm always dropping shit. Okay. So today's Tuesday. So we will see you on Friday. Mm-hmm. No idea what we're going to be talking about on Friday because we have no idea what the world looks like between now and Friday. But we'll bring you what's in the headlines. We'll bring you our opinions about it. If you're not already subscribed to our YouTube, fix that. Subscribe to our YouTube. You can find all of our old shows on our YouTube channel and make sure you're following our TikTok page. I'm Christy and I'm saying goodbye. Rob, any final thoughts?
No. Have a great day.
Your dog does.
I know, my dog.
Oh, that's Polly's dog.
Okay, bye everybody. Have a great day.
We'll see you guys on Friday. Thanks for joining us.
Subscribe. Quiet dog.